In Dragon Ball, Dr. Gero was the maniacal mastermind behind the androids used by the evil Red Ribbon Army in their attempt at conquest of the Earth. Although the Red Ribbon Army was eventually defeated by Goku, Dr. Gero escaped and sought revenge upon him. However, despite having such an impact on the franchise, Gero was hardly shown in the series, only ever being mentioned or appearing in the Cell arc of Dragon Ball Z, where it was revealed that he had transformed himself into an android of his own design, an energy absorption model of android like his partner Android 19, which was solely artificial save for his brain. However, Gero was quickly defeated by Piccolo and then killed by Android 17, a different type of model who was powered by infinite energy and served as a far greater threat to the Z fighters. But with Gero's death and end of his involvement in the story, a number of questions were left in the air. And one question, which I don't believe has ever been addressed in canon, is why didn't Dr. Gero also transform himself into an infinite energy model like Android 17 and 18? As we saw, the infinite energy models were far more powerful than Dr. Gero, being able to not only easily kill him but also decimate the Z fighters, including the Super Saiyans Trunks and Vegeta, who were even more powerful. On top of this, 17 and 18 also possessed unlimited stamina, which through a sort of perpetual energy allows them to fight at 100% forever. They may need to catch their breath momentarily, but their power does not drop regardless of how much of it they use. So why wouldn't Gero have made himself into this sort of model instead of the older energy absorption model? Well, the first possibility comes from this page of the manga, where we're given a brief history of Dr. Gero's android creations. Now, as we can see, for one reason or another, all of the androids are labeled as failures, with the exception of Android 19 and 20. Who is Gero after he had his brain transplanted into his mechanical body. Now, interestingly, even Android 17 and 18, who were clearly superior to Gero, are labeled as failures. However, this came as a result of Gero not being able to control them, as opposed to something being wrong with their bodies. Gero even attempted to suppress 18's power to make her easier to control. However, this still proved unsuccessful. However, this doesn't seem to be a problem for Gero, as he would only need to control himself, and the androids seemed to resist more out of their own hatred for Gero and what he did to them than a design flaw, so I'm not too sure about this possibility. The next possibility is that Gero was too old or not healthy enough to transform his body into an infinite energy model. As it says in Daizenshuu 4, most of the modifications to 17 and 18 were organic in nature, restructuring their organic matter. Only the emergency deactivation controller and the self-destruction device used mechanical parts. So it's possible that the modifications would be too stressful on his body and not allow him to survive the alterations. However, this is all speculation, as we really don't know much about Gero during this time aside from what he was working on. And even if this was the case, we later discovered that Android 16 was actually a fully mechanical infinite energy model, and he was actually more powerful than 17 or 18. So Gero could have made that type of android and transplanted his brain into it. Much like Android 8, the only flaw with 16 was not wanting to hurt anyone, and Gero wouldn't need to create an artificial intelligence for himself, so these limitations shouldn't have been a real issue. Now, for an out-of-universe answer, it's simply because Toriyama didn't think of these plot points when Gero first emerged. Originally, 19 and 20 were planned to be the real villains of the arc. However, Toriyama continued to change this as the arc progressed, introducing 17 and 18, the superior model of android, and then finally Cell as the final villain of the arc. Now, it's likely that 19 and 20 would have been more than strong enough to fight Goku, Vegeta, and the rest, and their energy absorption would have been a much larger threat in Toriyama's original vision of the arc. However, there is was nothing he could do to go back and change Gero's design or abilities when the time came for 17 and 18 to be introduced. So instead, he was killed off and the focus shifted to his creations. So ultimately, I don't see any real satisfactory explanation for why Gero wasn't an infinite energy model as far as in-universe goes. Perhaps Toriyama will be asked this in an interview in the future and shed some further light on why he thinks this is the case. But until then, all fans can really do is speculate. But in the end, that's where much of the fun comes from when you're a fan of the Dragon Ball franchise. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out.
Yeah, and you better subscribe, enable those damn notifications.